That's all we need.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host Alex, and with me I have Dan. How are you, Dan?
I'm not too bad after the international break, a bit of a break. I watched the Socceroos absolutely annihilate Bangladesh. Didn't get up for the Palestine game this morning, but another win, so that was good. And obviously on the back of probably a nice end. It's probably frustrating, but a nice end to that last little section of the league. So good win over Huddersfield.
Delap's sort of making a habit of it, because was the Leicester game also just before the international break with the nice 1-0 win there? Regardless, I think we've had a couple of good wins before the international breaks, which is always a nice way to send the team off. But yeah, look, it was a tough watch at times. It was the sort of game where I think if we had got a goal early in the piece, like I know we had that penalty claim, which looked pretty stonewall from where I was sitting. You sort of think if you get a goal like that reasonably early in the game, it's a whole different story, and they have to sort of come out a bit more, and perhaps we have a chance to score a second or third. But, as it was, still just happy to walk away with the 3 points and, get over the line. It's a professional performance.
Yeah, I think credit to Huddersfield Town. They set up obviously really, really well, and they obviously they held us at bay for a long period, 90 odd minutes. I couldn't really decide whether this was a game where it was a if not when, or a when not if. Early on, it felt like wave after wave of pressure, and you thought it's going to come. But then the longer the game went on, it sort of became, is this just going to drag out into a 0-0? So I think it was good that the boys stuck to the game plan. They kept creating chances, and were able to Delap's able to poke one into the corner late on. So I think it was just a nice little way to cap off that section after probably a pretty disappointing performance the week before against West Brom. So
yeah, for sure. And the fact that we had, I think it was 76% possession for the match, but 80% in the first half, and 20 shots to 2, it would have been a pretty frustrating one not to come away with the win in that sort of situation. It was good to see Philogene back as well, coming into the side for Traore. I think it's going to be an interesting one. And I think it's really going to be a case of when Lakilo gets back fit, we almost we need that width on the other side as well, because I think teams are just double or triple teaming Philogene these days and recognize his quality in the side, where we need, somebody to offer that threat on the other side to force teams not to just put everything on him. You sort of look at Tufan coming into the side, looking probably his sharpest since his return from injury, which has really helped things. But yeah, I think that natural winger might be something that we probably just need to see to get the best out of Philogene. Otherwise, I think teams are just going to sort of stifle him.
Yeah, I think we do have lots of really good creative options, and having them, I think Tufan seemingly back fit seems to make a big difference. He makes some really intelligent runs. I think there was one that he just ghosted in behind his defender to get a really good header that was well pushed over by Nichols or whatever. But I think we need to keep those players fit as much as possible to absolutely relieve that pressure on Philogene, because obviously when we can give him space and time on the ball is when he's most dangerous. But I think just generally, we have so many good attacking talents, and if we can get the right ones, get the right combinations, get them fit and firing, then we'll be winning plenty of games throughout the season to come. I guess the probably big concern is Connolly, obviously, in this game, came on, got injured, had to go off, which is, not a good sign to get subbed on and off in the one game. So it looked like he took a fair whack on, he went sort of bounced out from, I think, off a corner or a free kick. bounced out. He took a swing. The defender took a swing, and they kind of, I think, just sort of hit each other. I think he battled away for a little while, but you could tell wasn't quite right. So, there was there was the concern about whether he, at such a young age already had that, injury prone sort of tag. And I know this is like, it's just a very unfortunate one, but still, he just seems to be finding ways to get himself injured, get himself in the recovery room, which is very frustrating, because obviously another attacking talent that you would much rather have available and on the pitch than doing physio.
Yeah, no doubt. And, hopefully that week off does him a bit of good, but it does seem to be, it's concerning that it's basically, from the sound of things, it's a recurrence of the same injury that he suffered against Stoke, which was coming up to 12 months ago now. That it's not something that's seemingly healing. Obviously with the talk in recent weeks as well of offering him a longer term deal as well, you'd sort of hope that there's some confidence that this is something he can overcome and isn't just going to be, something that's going to flare up every now and then for him in his career, because we saw at the start of the season how valuable he is when he's out on the pitch, and haven't been able to see it the last few weeks. So it was good to see him back on the pitch against Huddersfield. So as you say, it was a shame to see him having to be subbed off again in that one. I guess the other attacking player to touch on is Twine as well, who I thought had a pretty reasonable game in this one. I suppose the only criticism I'd potentially have with his set pieces is that he always seems to look for the short option, or he never seems, he's sort of lost that confidence to go direct. It ended up being quite a well-worked move where he flicked the free kick to, I think it was Tufan, to play across for Delap, who really should have put it away. But he seems to also be going quite short with his corners a lot of the time. I don't know if that is a confidence thing. I don't know if it's just a training ground routine that we've been working on to just try and open up a bit more space. But in general, play seemed to be, on the improve. And so I just hope that, if he can bag a couple of goals, get a bit of confidence, that it might just loosen up his play altogether.
Yeah, I think he is one that seems to be a bit of a slow burn, but I think he is starting to build into a little bit of form. He seems to be contributing, in a more impactful way. Whereas there's been a few games this season where he sort of just felt like a passenger, like he's just sort of been there and on the field, but not really impacting the game too much. But these days, these last couple of games, he's really starting to show some improvement.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sorry.
That's all right. Did you want to give your 3-1 votes for the game?
Sure. I did think about this a minute ago, and then so I was going to go in some order: Philogene, Delap, Tufan, but I can't. No, Delap, Tufan, Twine. I was going to give a point to Twine because for just on what we're talking about, an improved performance, and I thought, the free kick that you mentioned, the little short kick towards the back post that was played back across, was quite good. I guess I'm going 2 points to Tufan for, I think, just some really clever involvement. I think potentially, I can't remember whether, I think it was him on that free kick. There was a couple of other nice crosses that he put in. That header just seemed to be busy and getting in good positions. Just couldn't quite put it away. And cometh the hour, cometh the man. Liam Delap can have 3 points from me for the 3 points he secured for us.
Good shouts all round. Yeah, I went Tufan for the 3. I thought it was his sharpest game back from injury, which was great to see. Delap, as you said, scoring the match winner has to be up there in the votes. And I went Tyler Morton for the 1 vote. I thought he had another terrific display and, capped off this morning for the England under-21s with a goal and assist. So he's loving his football at the moment, which is great to see. We'll move on then. We'll do our player review before we round off with the 2 fixtures we've got coming up. And our player for this week is Lewie Coyle, club captain. 106 appearances now since he signed for us back in 2022. No, sorry, it was in 2020 it would have been, wouldn't it? Because it was the League One season. Was made club captain in 2022 is what I meant to say. But yeah, signed from Fleetwood Town for a nominal sort of fee. I mean, it would have maybe been a couple of $100,000 if you're talking a League One signing fee. So hard not to rate it anything other than a success. I mean, he's been a divisive figure in some respects. I think we always talk about the fact that there's this curious factor or element in that our back four is essentially, it is the back four that got us promoted, because it's Greaves, McLaughlin, Jones, and Coyle. I think I shared a link just before. There was some analytics done of all the centre backs in the league, and Jones and McLaughlin came out in the top 5 across the league. And I think the call out in that tweet was, no surprise to see 2 of the Leicester defenders in that back 5, in that top 5. And I kind of thought, yeah, I think it's a bit more surprising there's 2 City defenders in that top 5. So, putting that aside though, but it's our League One defence that's still competing and performing. But I think there's something in some supporters that just thinks to progress we need to replace these players, but they just keep performing. And I think even this season, he was challenged with the arrival of Christie, but I think probably coupled with Christie dropping off a bit, but I think Coyle's really risen to the occasion and really settled into that captaincy role as well, and looks a terrific contributor in that 11.
Yeah, I think there is an interesting sort of element of snobbery that comes out sort of whenever we sign a player from a lower league. We always, regardless of age, experience, potential, whatever, we always just seem to the fan base, the general sentiment seems to be like, oh well, why are we going here? We should be getting better. We should be aiming higher for these players. But I think Lewie Coyle has shown certainly that. I think he's shown his character. I think really more than anything that while I'll admit he's not probably the flashiest or classiest defender, doesn't necessarily have the best footwork, ball control, whatever, but or positioning. I think he does get caught out positionally a fair bit, but I think his heart and desire, that absolute heart on your sleeve, leave everything on the pitch attitude, die for the club, that is what endears him to many supporters, to me. And I think what the other players appreciate and respect and recognize in him, that he is doing his best to lead by example, that he's giving everything he can. I think even you only have to look back a month to all of those issues with the broken nose, and then missed a game, came back, got smashed in the face again, then basically just stuck a mask on and just kept playing. So there's plenty of players out there who aren't up for the fight in that sort of situation, who are very willing to just say, I'll just take the couple of weeks, I'll recover, and then I'll come back when it's fully healed. But he has just said, don't worry about it, let's just get on with it. So I think that's worth some appreciation.
Yeah, and he was appreciated with a new 3-year deal over the summer, which is also great to see. I think it was a bit of a surprise to some. I think there was an assumption that he might be, I suppose, slowly phased out of the side, and so might only get a 1 or 2 year extension on his deal. But the 3-year deal shows the confidence and the support that Rossini and management have in him, especially as club captain. And he's repaying it. I mean, he got the consolation goal against West Brom the other week, but he's, as you say, I mean, he's showing his resilience and his desire to get out there and compete even with those injuries. And I mean, not to directly compare him to Connolly, because you can't know what the injury was to Connolly, but we're sort of talking about the toe injury that's keeping Connolly out versus the broken nose and cheekbone or whatever it might be that Coyle's got and he's battling through. A bit different, because you don't run on your nose, but you need a working foot to do that. But I suppose the broader point just being that there's, as you say, there's probably a few players that could take a leaf out of Coyle's book in his commitment to the cause and his determination to play for us. So it was an interesting signing at the time, because we signed him and Emmanuel, and so that was a bit unclear who was going to be that dominant right back, and it was Emmanuel who got the first chance, but Coyle, in some ways, I mean, we've talked about Ingram before as sort of outlasting all these competitors to his position, and Coyle's sort of doing the same with having seen off Christie as well. So, look, it'll be interesting to see how he progresses over the next few seasons with us. But we'll talk about some teams that we're playing over the next 7 days, both of which have former players in their ranks. We'll start with the Swansea game, which, is pretty exciting, this Swansea game, because fingers crossed and all things going right, there will actually be 4 of our podcast members all watching this game at Cheers in Sydney on the Saturday night. We've got Mitch, who hasn't been on the podcast in a little while, but, for those of you in our Facebook group would know he does the prediction posts every week, or does when I remind him. He's going to the Sydney Derby beforehand, so we'll see what sort of state he's in and whether we can get him along to Cheers. And Mike as well, who is a pretty regular contributor to the podcast, should hopefully be making it out as well as yourself, of course, Dan, making the pretty fair trip down to Sydney, not just for this game, I should add, but it'll be hopefully good to see everyone in person.
Yeah, look, I am really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, this time I'm not coming down just off my own bat. I tried that once before, and the bloody EFL shifted the fixtures and ruined all my plans. So just a happy coincidence this time, but don't mind at all. It'll be good to actually meet you in person.
Yeah, that's it.
Just because I was just trying to think about it before. Is it that? Yeah, I was like 5. No, it's more than that, because I remember talking about the Premier League, that Premier League season and the promotion. So I was like,
it sort of reminds me of you being a teacher, it's not quite the same, but the role that I started over 2021, the number of people that I knew for 6 to 12 months via Zoom or screens before getting into the office, and you go, geez, I've known you for so long, but I haven't actually seen you in person. It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to shake the hand, do the formal introductions,
absolutely,
and share a beverage while we watch Hull City smash Swansea.
Yeah, so managed by Michael Duff now, who took over in the summer when Russell Martin left. It's been an interesting start to the season for them, because it's they seem to have an art form out of picking their managers to suit a certain style of play, and Duff is sort of a divergence from that, because he's a bit more of a direct manager, whereas Martin was a bit more possession heavy. So they've only got 5 wins from the 16 games in the league under him, and only 1 win in their last 5, which, dare I say, it's probably putting him on pretty rocky ground. I think he's one of those managers who, when he was he's a bit in the Grant McCann mold, where he was put under a bit of pressure and was very prickly when asked about his relationship with the fans. And he said he's not there to make friends with the fans. He's there to win football matches. And it's like, oh, well, mate, you're not doing that either. So I don't know why you're drawing attention to that. But interestingly, our only win in the last 5 against them was I think it was actually Shotter's first game. It was definitely one of the first in a 2-0 win last season. But yeah, look, seems a great chance at 3 points.
Yeah, I think we are certainly improving our form. We had a bit of a rocky patch, but I think, because what are we, 3 wins in our last 5?
Yeah, well, even 3 in the last 4, which is 3 clean sheets in the last 4 as well. But
so seem to be stringing a little bit of form together, bit of a break, and for some, and I think it was good to see, Philogene, Delap, Morton all go away with the England under 21s, get some game time. There were some goals amongst them. So that was really good. They'll come back buzzing, full of confidence. And I think, just a really good opportunity to continue to stake our claim for that top 6 position, or yeah.
I guess for me, I'd be pretty happy to back the 11 that came out against Huddersfield. I suppose I'm just thinking on that discussion earlier around Philogene, whether we, if Lakilo is fit following the international break, whether we see him regain a place in the team. But it's a tough team to get into at the moment, because it's not as if there's an obvious player to drop out, because Tufan is playing a whole lot better. Twine seems to be on the improve as well. Morton, as we say, has just come away with the England under 21s and been fantastic. So you'd almost say that the team just picks itself as the same 11 from last time.
Yeah, I think it's a nice position to be in for once, where we're not able to really clearly identify who is the weak link, who's making the mistakes, who should get replaced. And I think with I could only suggest like if any of those, but if then it's Europe, they didn't travel that far. So I was going to say like if any of those were leggy or potentially after the games, but I think they seem to get managed pretty well because I think Delap and Philogene started in the first one, but not the second, and I think
Yeah.
Morton was the reverse, didn't start the first, but started the second one. So I can't really see any reason why any of them would be.
And the game this morning was just at Goodison as well, so it's not even that much
So
of
it's not,
travel.
yeah, not that's what I was. So I can't really see any reason to change. I, I think we just we discussed it earlier in the season. Just a little bit of a time feeling out period of trying to find sort of what was the best 11 and what was the right balance. But I think we're kind of sorting that out. It's become pretty clear what the best back four is, despite the you know. The pedigree of some of the players or the hype that came with some of the players we brought in, particularly in left back. But
I was going to
yeah,
say, I mean, the one element we didn't really talk about in the Huddersfield game was that Vinagre coming on at left wing was actually quite productive because it was his crosses that sort of, I suppose, opened up the play for Delap's goal. I wouldn't necessarily do it from the start, but if we're
no,
talking about wide options to sort of take the brunt off Philogene, whether it's, a repeated performance against Swansea.
yeah. Well, I don't know whether did I actually write that in the chat or anything. I could have. I swore I was at least. I was definitely thinking about it, even if I didn't put in there about. I could have sworn I suggested doing something like simple, saying we do it with Christie on the other side, where he's actually like a
Yeah.
right fullback, but he
Oh, I
plays
think
up
you did,
higher.
yeah.
And it would be a weird shout to suggest maybe Vinagre comes on in the left wing spot to, a bit of pace. He's nice and direct, could cause some problems. So I actually, I didn't like. He still does kind of need to get that consistency in the final delivery. But I thought he was pretty good. He was nice and direct. Took some players on, got to the byline, got a few crosses in, and was a part of creating some chaos in their box. Late in that game. So I'd be very supportive of seeing something like that happen again. And I think it's sort of just an extra element, some extra versatility, some extra options, depending on the game. If we need someone who's going to be, pacey and direct and take on the fullback, and then you've got someone like Vinagre that can come on. If not, if you want, a different style of play, then, we've got plenty of midfielders who've taken a shift out there. You've got maybe Lakilo, who isn't probably as quick as Philogene and Vinagre are, but is coming along. So I think, I probably wouldn't change 11, but I think we're starting to get some really interesting options. And I think a good variety of options in across, across the pitch in general, but across that forward sort of area particularly.
Yeah, no doubt. And from a Swansea perspective, the probably biggest inclusions are Yates, who signed in the summer from Blackpool, who's doing a reasonable job up forward for them. And then, of course, Josh Tymon signing from Stoke as a former City player to come up against in this game. But look, it will be interesting in that sense. But what's your score prediction for this one?
Let's go 2-0. I'm feeling
Nice.
pretty confident. I think we got some. We seem to be building a bit of form. We're scoring more regularly at the moment. Not super regularly, but I reckon we can build on a 1-0 to go to 2-0.
The last one I saw at Cheers was against Stoke, which was a nice 3-1 win. So hopefully that's a good sign or a good omen for this one, and hopefully we can get a couple of goals on the board. Yeah, I'll stick with your 2-0 as well. We've then got Rotherham midweek. So this time next week, I think it's a Wednesday morning game. They sacked their manager, Matt Taylor, during the international break. I don't think they've actually replaced him yet. They've got a couple of guys I looked it up on Wikipedia, and they've got 3 guys named as the interim manager in Scott Brown, Wayne Carlisle, and Dan Green. I don't know that means that all three of them will be in the dugout, or how that situation's unfolding. But
They'll sub each other in and out.
that's it. Yeah. That, like Swansea, they've only got the one win in the 5 games, although they did get a 2-2 draw with Ipswich in their penultimate game, which isn't too bad a result, to be honest. But yeah, they've also got a former City player in their midst with Sam Kluk, who's signing on a free transfer. I feel like it was only in the last couple of weeks. It was a very late one. And Daniel Ayala, who, is a very, blast from the past player, because he was in our team back in 2010, 2011, I believe, under old Nigel Pearson as a loanee from Liverpool. So quite some time ago now. But and of course, Tom Eaves, who I don't think is, I remember when he signed for them, he said, I'm going to be a 15-goal a season striker or something like that. He said, I've got to have that confidence. I don't even think he's scored a single goal for them yet. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's another game against a side that's, sitting 22nd in the table. Really should be an opportunity to get 6 points from these 2 games.
Yeah, I'd be really disappointed if we didn't pick up the 6 points. It's one of those where I'd say like 4 points is a minimum, but pretty much anything other than the 6 is disappointing. If we somehow manage to lose either of these games, very disappointing. But yeah, I'd be expecting a couple of wins. But yeah.
Yeah, not much more to say than that, is there? Yeah, I think this is definitely. I mean, they could approach it like Huddersfield, which would be the Warriors, that they could come in and just park the bus, and we'd come away. You'd still hope with a 1-0 win, but this is the game against Rotherham where I'd be hoping that we can really fill our boots and we had the 4-2 win last season under Dawson. We seem to match up pretty well against them. I'd be hoping we can get some goals in this game, like sort of a 2 or a 3-0 win at a minimum, really.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I was about to
threw to you at the worst moment.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I think Swansea's, going to be a really good game and a good test, but we should still be able to win fairly comfortably. I think Rotherham is a game where we should be, really just going for the kill. This should be a game where we are looking to get 3 or 4 goals, come away with a big win, bucket loads of confidence. Heading into the next few fixtures after that, because I think that's probably the only thing that's really missing is being able to take advantage of those games against the opposition at the bottom of the league. Is we really need to just be putting them to the sword, making these wins convincing, just if for nothing else than just to boost that goal difference, because there's some teams in that top 6 already who have massive goal differences. So that's probably something that's the only thing that I'd say we really need to do, so that we can improve our own and put ourselves in a really safe position. Because I can't think of anything that would be worse than getting to the end of the season and then missing out on top 6, missing out on playoffs because of goal difference.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, look, this is a good opportunity to hopefully get the 6 points in the bag, and hopefully we're back here next week talking about 2 fantastic wins. But look, until next time, thank you for joining me, Dan.
Yeah, well, next time won't be that far. It's only the weekend.
I'll shout you a beer at Cheers on the weekend. Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. Until next time, come on, City.